Thank you, Dr. Bellin. Coming to the last talk of the session, and in this presentation we look at the option of phakic IOL in patients with keratoconus. Well, when you think about keratoconus and the irregular astigmatism that it induces, the question comes that is there really a role for a phakic IOL in patients with keratoconus? Well, we started seeing some of these initial case reports and small series showing the impact of phakic IOL to correct myopia and astigmatism in keratogenic patient. This was a case report in 2 cases where they used the Verisize iris-supported phakic IOL with good outcome. This was another one where they did Intacs first, followed by the Verisize intraocular lens implantation. And another paper published in 2007, 3 eyes of 2 patients where they did Intacs followed by the posterior chamber toric columnar lens, and they had good outcome. Encouraged by these reports, we also started doing phakic IOLs for a small subset of keratoconus patients who had good best spectacle corrected visual acuity. Initially, we were using the Verisize lens because at that time we didn't have the Star ICL available with us. And once we got the toric ICL, we moved on to using the Star toric ICL. So phakic IOL, it effectively corrects a wide range of myopia and astigmatism. The ICL V4 has a range of -3 to -23 diopters spherical and corrects almost up to 6 diopters of astigmatism. The inclusion criteria that we had for our keratoconus patient was one, as I mentioned earlier, that the best spectacle corrected visual acuity should be 612 or better. The overall keratometry should be less than 58, so it was basically for early to moderate keratoconus patients. Pachymetry of more than 400 microns, because most of these patients we also went ahead and did collagen cross-linking to stabilize the keratoconus. The overall astigmatism less than 6 diopters, and the other parameters as per requirements of the ICL. And most of the keratoconus patients, the anterior chamber depth was quite deep, so we didn't have a contraindication from that aspect. So just to show you some of the representative topography, these are patients with early keratoconus, and if you look at the astigmatism, most of them the cylindrical power is within 4 diopters. The surgical procedure is fairly simple. This was a patient who already had intracorneal ring done elsewhere, and he came to us. He was not very happy, not willing to wear contact lens. So we went ahead and we found that his best spectacle corrected visual acuity was 6.9. So we went ahead and did a toric ICL. The axis for the toric ICL has been marked, after which a paracentesis is performed, and we put in methyl cellulose into the eye. That's a dispersive viscoelastic. Make a clear corneal temporal incision, and then the ICL is injected gently into the eye. And this should not be done very rapidly. You should take your time, allow the 2 foot plates forward to expand. And there is a small diamond mark that kind of orients you to the axis of the ICL, and this should align with the alignment marks that you have made at the limbs. And the 2 foot plates are gently nudged under the iris, and once all the foot plates are in place, you rotate the lens gently to the desired axis. At the end of this, we put in pilocarpine into the eye to constrict the pupil. If you have done the iridotomies prior to doing this procedure via YAG procedure, then you don't need to put in pilocarpine, which allows easy egress of the viscoelastic. But here we prefer to do a surgical PI superiorly, so we put in pilocarpine to constrict the pupil. We wash out all the viscoelastic, and that's pretty much the end of surgery. Post-operatively, the outcome is quite good, and we get, on an average, the vaulting is anywhere between 600 to 800 microns. And just to show you one of the representative cases, this is a patient with moderate keratoconus, and his K values are about 53 and 49.6 with the astigmatism of 3.1. If you look at his clinical refraction, that's an automated refractor, which shows about -9 with -3 cylinder. And with the spectacle correction, he was improving to 6.9. And what you see there is the same automated refraction after we did the toric ICL. Now you see the values are just 1.5 with a cylinder of 0, all of 0. So you want to, in the K value, this as it was pre-op. So the ICL has been quite effective in correcting the astigmatism, and that's just to show you the post-operative vaulting on OCT. So we had about 36 eyes of 24 patients and mean age of 26.9 years, all the young patients, out of which 12 had bilateral procedures, follow-up average of 13 months. Most of these patients had undergone cross-linking, almost all of them, and the K values were pretty much similar pre and post. We gave an average duration of 3 months post cross-linking before the ICL was implanted. Had a good specular cell count of 2,800 and anterior chamber depth average was almost 4 millimeters. If you compare the outcome, it's quite good. The uncorrected visual acuity was 200 preoperative, best corrected was 20/40, and this improved to 20/40 uncorrected, and best corrected improved from 20/40 to 20/25, and the residual sphere was only about 0.08. That's just to represent the pre and post uncorrected visual acuity. You can see a good deal of improvement. That's the spectacle corrected visual acuity. The red is the pre and the blue post showing improvement. You can see almost 100% of the eyes were within plus or minus 1 diopter. And if you look at the number of lines of visual improvement uncorrected, you can see that almost 44% had 7 lines of visual improvement. Complications, intraoperatively, we did not face any complication. Postoperatively, one eye had a pupillary block because this was a YAG PI done preoperatively, and this was a little small, so patient had a fibrin block and developed a pupillary block. Since then, we started doing surgical PI in most of our cases. One eye had rotation of ICL because the patient had a habit of rubbing the eye. One eye had excessive vaulting, could be because of retained viscoelastic. This resolved at 1 month spontaneously. We did not have to do anything. None of the eyes developed any lenticular changes in the postoperative period. If we compare our results with some of the papers recently published, this was a paper by Alfonso, and this was published in Journal of Cataract Refractive Surgery. I don't know why the printer suddenly becomes so small in that. Here again, they included eyes which had a mean cylinder of within 6 diopters, and almost 87% of the eyes were within plus or minus 0.5, and all the eyes were within plus or minus 1 diopters. The corrected distance visual acuity was 20/40 or better in about almost 96% of the eyes, and 20/25 or better in 73%. Now, another paper published back in 2008. Again, if the inclusion criteria is quite similar to what we had used, that the best spectacle corrected visual acuity of 20/50 or better, the central K values should be less than 52, we went up to 58, and the refractive cylinder less than 3. And the outcome and the 25 eyes were almost quite similar to what we had. The uncorrected visual acuity post-operative was about 6.9, and best corrected visual acuity was 6/7.5. Basically, in conclusion, phakic IOL implantation can be considered with early to moderate keratoconus, where the refractive astigmatism is less than 6 diopters and the best spectacle visual acuity is 6/12 or better. Toric ICL with range of correction allows correction of the refractive error. There is good improvement of unaided visual acuity, and we have seen on an average of about 6 lines of improvement in the unaided visual acuity, which makes life much better for the patient with keratoconus. We did not come across any significant complications, and hence this modality of treatment appears to be safe and effective with good predictability for correction of refractive errors in patients with stable keratoconus. Thank you.